So I don't know if anyone's got experience with Facebook ads, but when you're browsing Facebook through normal posts and normal topics and threads, whether you're on your mobile or the computer, you might get things like this appearing. Various charities. It could be Oxfam, Friends of the Earth. It could be an environmental charity. It could be, it could be any charity. And basically, I don't know whether they're doing post boost or what, but basically they're wanting. Usually, it's to sign a petition. You get ones for animal welfare. I sign a lot of petitions, and you can actually comment on these. And you can actually. Usually, though, they're wanting you to donate money. Now, it's costing these people quite a lot of money to advertise on Facebook. In fact, Facebook is making, millions out of it. And there's Nick Clegg, Lib Dems is meant to be the president of Facebook now. The thing is that what I don't like is this, right? They're making you get a passport, pay £75 for a passport to even do political adverts on there, right? A lot of these petitions, I'm not sure if this one is just asking for money or whether it's a petition and money, but usually the money and or petitions. But their petition form, right, I found one here. Here's one of the Friends of the Earth petitions, right? It says sign the petition. Now, all these... Actually, they're actually supporting this Sherwood Forest petition, Friends of the Earth. I speak to them in these comments quite a bit, the actual charities, because I've been asking them about specifics around running this Facebook ads. They're actually promoting someone else's petition about Sherwood Forest. We're wanting to actually protect our area and rewild it, do rewilding in our area, and they said that they don't support promote other people's petitions. Right, this is what I wanted to show you. These are petitions, right? These are petitions that people like Friends of the Earth and other charities do, right? And the Earl is actually on Friends of the Earth, right? The Earl's on Friends of the Earth. Now, they've got their own special form. Now, I don't know where they get this template for this petition from, right? Because they're all like this. There's a certain framework in underlying website template that all the main charities are currently using, and it's this one. It counts who's signed, and you enter your name, address, and postcode and sign there, right? Now, it seems to me like quite a secure and independent signature collecting program and registry they're using, right? Because otherwise you've got 38 Degrees or Change.org, and I don't think Change.org is that stable. Now, the thing about these charities promoting these petitions is they're usually targeting specific countries like England, so all the people who will get to sign it are English, right? And these forms are quite stable, collecting signatures. Look, they've got 258. Some of them you'll look and they might only have 15,000 signatures, right? So they're paying Facebook a hell of a lot of money to promote it on the website. And then, so literally, a lot of the donations that people are making to these charities, a lot of it's going back into Facebook to carry on promoting it again. Now, the thing that I don't like is if it's charitable cause, why don't Nick Clegg and Mark Zuckerberg offer free advertising for charities? Now, the thing that I want to point out is this, right? I want to point out that in the newspapers in the past, you used to be able to put free public notices, like if it were lost property or something like that. Occasionally, you'll find small newspapers that do offer a free notice, like if you've got a petition or lost property or something that's non-profit, right, they'll publish it. Now, at some point, the newspapers started using a new framework for ads, and it cleverly filtered out all the things that would be actually effective and worth doing, like putting a petition in there or anything like that. And they only started offering things like, oh, you can, put a wedding or a funeral or a university graduate congratulations notice or a birthday notice. They basically, all the things that are worth putting in there, right, which are meant to be free because they're non-profit, they sort of ditch them, and it made it look like you could put a public notice, but you can't on there, not through that advertising portal. And a lot of the newspapers subscribed to this portal, right? So really it was the media collaborating together to really obstruct and stop people from putting free notices, like, petitions and lost property that are non-profit. They class as a placard. In the law, it classes as a placard, right? All the newspapers used to do it, particularly, if you weren't making any money out of it, and it's a notice to the public about something, a local concern or something, right? That's really when the media empire started politically obstructing people in the newspapers. And the equivalent really of that now is all the caps on messenger messages and things like that, and tagging people when it's for a petition. It should recognise it separately. Now, the thing is, right, a lot of people use change.org. Now, the thing with the main Her Majesty's Government website, HM Petitions, is they won't let you sign petitions unless you've got a UK postcode, right? And they're claiming that you've got to be a UK citizen to sign, even though Canadians and Australians can sign, Commonwealth countries. Now, the thing with change.org is people still do petitions and send them to governments. On the White House petition, you can be from any country when you go on the White House petition, and when you sign it, it don't matter what country you're from. The White House, American government, accepts signatures from anywhere, any country, and they operate under the First Amendment, which is meant to be based on the right to petition. Now, on change.org, I don't think the site's that stable. There's a lot of glitches on there. People say that they signed it and it didn't have the signature or so forth. And that website's actually collecting money so you can promote it. It's really only one of the sites you can get your petition shared and seen. What we can pay to get it sponsored. Now, the only thing with that is it's only people who are on that site browsing that site who see it, and it's a worldwide site. So there's a bit of a question on whether or not it's worth promoting it on there or even running it on there when there's people from other countries who might sign it because if the council won't accept the signatures. But the thing is, actual councillors who are in the council and on the councils are actually running petitions on change.org themselves. And they're letting people promote that petition on there, put money into it to promote it. So anyone can sign it, really. And a lot of councils are doing processing actions from petitions that have been on change.org. So, and also, I don't think you actually put your exact full address and postcode in there anyway. I think it definitely collects your email address and other details. Maybe it collects it from when you've signed up originally. But the thing is, why you actually, if you can't actually use change.org, it basically makes you worry if you should be using it anyway. Firstly, because it's not that stable, and secondly, because it's worldwide, so anyone can sign. Also, people from around the world aren't really usually that interested in English petitions, right? Now, 38 Degrees is a lot more stable site, I think, but they choose themselves what petitions they're going to promote when they're doing quite well, and they might not choose yours anyway, even if it is doing well. So I think it's quite biased, really. It's very, very dubious to who they're going to pick and help, basically, to be successful in their political endeavours. And you can't actually, through the 38 Degrees site, they don't let you promote it through that site, which I think is a bit naff, really. They should do. Now, the thing is, you can post on Facebook and share them and through social media, Twitter and WhatsApp and things like that, and email if you can get emails. But usually when you leave it on groups, people don't usually just jump on it and sign unless you ask them individually. Once you start asking people individually, you do get people to sign. And that's why I'm not happy with Nick Clegg and Mark Zuckerberg at Facebook, because they've got message caps on Messenger. And when you do tags, they claim you can tag 50 people, which you can. And when you tag 50 people and ask them, you get quite a few of them signing. But Facebook have got all these. There's these published figures on the internet. Like, you can send so many messages, but it's random. You sometimes send 85 messages, and you get your account restricted. And when you're petitioning, the last thing you want is your account restricted, because it's going to hinder your petition even more. Now, in the law, petition request is not spam, and it can't be. And I've written to Nick Clegg about this. So I think Facebook are unlawfully obstructing people. And what it really is, it is really the equivalent and the same thing as what happened in the newspapers when they introduced that new framework. And there was no changes in the law or anything. The bosses of the newspapers just kind of like basically elbowed out, people who were doing petitions and public notices, unless it's a little newspaper, because they didn't really want you to do it. Because political people, parties, are friends with newspaper owners and publishers, and it's all the big newspaper companies. So I think the main political parties who are friends with the media didn't really want people to be successful, and also the media like to control what's said and what people read. So there was that element to it as well. Now, really, what's happening with Facebook is, like the newspapers who kind of bullied and elbowed people out of being able to freely put public notices for free, particulars for free as well, and even put them, except really, really small newspapers, and maybe one or two left around Bristol and places like that where you can do it. But the main ones all adopted this framework, which literally took away your rights and didn't even have it on there in the first place. It's like, basically, it's the same as removing the buttons, so there's nothing there that you can press for the thing that you want to select, which really exists, and you can choose it, but they don't offer it, Really, now Facebook has taken over with social media from newspapers. That is really what replaces the thing when they introduced that framework and just snuck it in, really, is the caps on the messenger, because they're not supposed to apply to anything that's for a petition, because it's not spam. It involves repetition of the same message and high volume of the same message. And you don't really get people responding when you just leave it in the group. If you ask them politely and kindly, they tend to respond, I've found, when it's more personal. And also, if you put it in the group, people start complaining, that you're spamming the group, or they get bored of it repeated all the time. So if you're just sending it to one person once, then that one person, they sign it, they don't, And in the groups, they've even got multiple filters, But what I don't like is the fact that in the newspapers, if you got lost property or if you got, a petition, you didn't have to pay for it. And Messenger is essentially free, And what I don't like is the only real way now to try and get signatures is to put money into change.org, or if you aren't going out in the streets and getting paper signatures, put it in groups where certain admins cannot even uphold your rights. Certain admins end up discriminated against you. There's a lot of issues with admins, and even if you get a good admin, then when you leave it in the group, if it's a big group, you want to put it in a big group, and if it's in a big group, it gets buried under other posts, and they've got all the filters on that. Facebook have cleverly got all these filters, which seems to make sense if there's high volumes of posts and messages to read, but it also seems convenient that a lot of people won't see the message, and things like that. When, if you could just use Messenger, you're not going to use Messenger and Messenger really waste your time messaging, golf, people who are interested in golf or a golf club or a tennis club, if it's a petition about the environment. If you're in a group that's ancient sites and environment, then you want to ask those people, So the fact that it was free, though, in the newspapers, you didn't have to pay to put a petition or lost property. So a Messenger's free. Well, I know Facebook's free anyway in the groups, but it just... and the thing is, someone's got this set up now and set up this petition form that all these major charities are using, and they're actually helping promote it. I went on a Green Party group and it says you can't put petitions unless they're promoted by Green Party. So Green Party do promote petitions. I was speaking to some of these people. Now I've just seen that Friends of the Earth are actually hosting another woman's petition over Sherwood Forest. So I wanted to do some rewilding of our ancient sites, and actually protect them as well, heritage. And it involves an elements of woodland and trees, because they've got woodlands and trees around this ancient site and end up putting houses on it. So, if Friends of the Earth aren't going to, help, apparently you can sponsor petitions, the Green Party is saying, but the Green Party's one of their own politicians, the local councillor, is doing a petition, and I don't know if the Green Party have sponsored it on their website yet, or whether they want money to sponsor it, I don't know. But, so these people will be targeting in the ads, in the Facebook ads, they will be specifically targeting England. So that makes it seem like the petition's solid and sound. What I don't like is there's still a bit of grey area over whether or not your petitions on Change.org are going to count if there's loads of people from other countries signing. Yet, Change.org, one of their main petitions they're promoting has been that free Ratcliffe petition, and that's actually got a world action. I think it was one of the highest. I think it got over 3 million signatures, which you could get a referendum for that anyway. But anyway, it's happened that, I don't know whether it was aimed. I think it was actually might have been aimed at the British government. I can't remember off the top of my head. But a lot of people from around the world signed it. So, and there's this other thing that the government are really sort of keen in overseas relations anyway. So why are they saying on the HM petition site that you can only sign petitions and they're only valid if you're in England? But yet on the other hand, they've got councillors running petitions on Change.org and promoting them on Change.org, where anyone from any country can sign if it's promoted on there. And when you reach your figures, how do you know whether it's going to be valid or not? But yet the councillors are running it. And then councillors now are starting to say, oh no, we're not even picking and choosing whether they're going to debate petitions, even if it reaches certain figures, if they're saying they've already made decisions on it. Yet, petitions have got to be combined. They're saying that when you combine a petition, it can always bring something new into it or a different element to it. Like, for example, changing the green belt of the land, not just the actual building itself in connection with it. So, they're already made a decision on that. Really, a petition is its own proceedings. It's its own case. When there's a case for housing development, that is its own case. Now, you can hear evidence from petitions in those proceedings, but it's not the proceedings of the petition. It facilitates in the regulations for petitions to be allowed to be heard in council meetings for planning, right? But that is not the proceedings for that petition itself, because that petition is following its own proceedings, because it might have other clauses in effect or be asking for other things, not just opposing the housing, but it might be opposing the housing and wanting to get the green belt expanded or changed as well in connection with that. And there might be other petitions as well. Someone might lay a petition in proceedings for council in a planning proceedings, which is not proceedings for that petition. They just might happen to lay it. They might recognise that petition, and then they might say, oh, we've made a decision on this order, but there might be other multiple petitions asking for something in connection with that site, but something else as well, slightly different, right? And they've all got to be combined together. But yeah, when that petition was presented, they might not have combined them all. So, and they've got to be combined. So there are lots of things. That's why petitions really are meant to be their own set of proceedings, not the proceedings of planning. A planning application is a planning application. And when you make an objection, there is a certain time and room where it is allowed to hear petitions in there as evidence. It's not the proceedings for that petition or the meeting for that petition, I can guarantee you that, because you've only got a limited time in those meetings. That meeting's about a planning thing and you get a certain allotment for the petition. When you get proceedings for a petition, you get the full time for the petition. That's what the meeting's about, the petition. No, let's sneak the petition in and let's hear it for 2 minutes, put your timer on. So, Kirklees Council and Bernard McGuinn and Andrew Cooper, I've got serious issues with that council and how they're claiming that, they've already made decisions on things like that when it was another set of proceedings. Particularly when, we've got other petitions bringing other matters in, And I'm a little bit miffed off with some of these charities who, I've been talking to some of them and they've said that, we don't promote other people's petitions, but yeah, I've just seen that woman's Sherwood Forest petition they've been promoting, so it's, And they all have these forms here, which are a lot neater and easier to fill in. This is really what you want to get if you're doing a petition, but I don't know who owns the license for this platform. It's like it's almost like a set platform that all the charities are subscribing to. So, and I think people in England kind of like prefer interacting with these rather than change.org. And like I said, change.org has got glitches in it. It's unstable. People signing and signatures aren't being added, So there are a few things that I wanted to say. And the amount of massive money, if charitable causes are for charity to help people, right? Why does Facebook and why does Mark, it's about Mark really, and Nick's the president. Why does Mark, right, he's such, there's such a big platform. Why does Mark, in his head, think, I'm going to make a hell of a lot of money out of charities? Hell of a lot of people are going to give a hell of a lot of money to charities, donate the money for a good cause, and I'm going to take it off them to promote the thing. When on Facebook, you can post stuff anyway. If Mark Zuckerberg's such a good Samaritan, if it's charitable and you're not making money out of it, well, you're not making any profit out of it. It's all going to a good cause. So why don't charities free on Facebook? What I don't like is these big platforms, controlling out who you can message through Messenger, and how many people you can tag on Messenger, and then if you want to promote a petition, not just put it in a group and hope that people see it, you got to pay money, and he's actually making a profit out of you trying to pursue something in government. You see, Nick Clegg president of Facebook. That company is making profits from people just seeking to protect their interests, in their area, or raise money for charity or anything like that, which they're not going to be making any money out of. In fact, some companies will be at loss because if they don't get the houses through, they won't make money out of it. So they won't make business profit. But yet, when we're trying to stop them from making business profits and ruining our area, Mark Zuckerberg's making millions, billions, and Nick Clegg. So to me, he's making a profit. Well, Facebook are making profits from us frantically trying to protect someone being put at a loss and someone else making a profit. But we've got to pay for it. So, the other people make massive profits. Facebook makes profits. And all that money, Facebook can use politically to do what they want politically. Use their own images, use their own slogans, which affect you politically. They can even sponsor the Conservative Party if they want Facebook, even though Nick Clegg's working there. They can use all that money they've got from charities to do something in the government which might be in opposition to those charities. I think it's very, very bad taking money from charities when it's so expensive, when the official tabloids in the press classically are meant to be, if you're not making any money, if you've lost property, or if you're doing a petition, something like that, it was free, and it was supposed to be. And they didn't even want to take your money off you in that newspaper. They just didn't want you to publish it because they're locked in this new ridiculous framework what they subscribed to and across all the websites. And it was, if somebody hadn't died, if somebody hadn't been born, and if it ain't somebody's birthday, and if they ain't passed a graduate degree, then we don't want to hear about it. Look elsewhere because there's no button for it and no selection for it. And if you submit it, we'll just refuse it anyway. Even though there's rights in place and law in place, so they can't refuse it because you've got a right to do it. The newspaper is not supposed to be biased. And in fact, you've got to publish notices in newspapers. There's still a law saying that if you're doing a development or something like that, it's got to be published in a main newspaper. Now, the thing is with the main newspapers is that like for our local press, there's less than 15,000 copies, and if each village is got 5,000 people, and there are 20, 30, 40 villages, there isn't enough newspapers to go around the villages. There's only 3 villages worth of newspapers, so how are the rest of the people going to see it? And if they haven't put the planning notices up on the street where they're supposed to put them, and then you get Huddersfield Hub and Huddersfield Examiner posting in Facebook groups, there's a road traffic scheme and you want to enter applications. And then when you ask them what the link is, they say, it's closed now, you can't put a comment. You're like, what? It always seems to be too late. As if perfect timing when, we'll let people know now, and then, it's too late, you can't put a comment in. These are the strategies, it's ridiculous. And this is all in line. This is all connected with Boris Johnson and the Tories, who are seeking to pursue doing things like making it so you don't even have the right to object to it anymore. Not only did they not want you to put it in that newspaper when you had the right, they didn't want to show it in that newspaper, so they gradually phased it out, but the law hadn't changed, but they obstructed you. And then now we've got Facebook, and then, at first Facebook were really good, and then you get all these message caps creeping in because they've got political reasons why they don't want you to do it. And those political reasons are Boris Johnson and their friends, and Nick Clegg and their friends. They call it, and then they throw around terms like Partygate. Like if they took that messenger cap off, everyone would be having a party of their own, Yet, politicians find it difficult to get people interested in politics. The turnout for local council voting is only a third sometimes, and then in general elections, sometimes it's not half of the people turn out. So I don't think it will be that much of a Partygate, because first of all, half the people aren't interested and don't bother, and that's why you've got to go out of your way to ask and messenger them individually to get those signatures, which still isn't easy and still takes a lot of time. So when you're actually putting the work in and they aren't blocking you, it's still not that easy to do it. So I don't know what Boris Johnson's talking about. He just don't want anyone to have any political say or power or authority at all. Only the council and these main franchises. And it's getting really serious now. And I think Extinction Rebellion know. Extinction Rebellion know that, what the government are doing is not right. And we've got rights, and the courts now are trying to, take away people's rights from them. Even juries now are taking sides because they've got a political opinion. And now they're trying to say whether or not a jury can hear it or not. Well, it's not meant to be heard in a court. When the Civil War were on, courts were taking different sides. So how can you have each fair trial's impossible when you've got different, pick what judge you're having on what day, depends on what side it's affiliated with, like in the Civil War, what county it is. Huddersfield was Roundheads, sided with the Roundheads. It was a parliamentarian, so you wouldn't have done too well if there was a court case in Huddersfield during the Civil War. If you were a royal supporter, you wouldn't have done too well at all. This is why you can't be criminally prosecuted through the courts when you're acting in connection with petitions, because people have already got a side before they hear the evidence. And in a courtroom, no one's supposed to know anything about the case until the evidence is given. And the newspapers aren't really supposed to say too much until afterwards. That's the problem. Well, it's true what they say. We're being hijacked, and we're being hijacked by companies now, big companies. And the government, I think the not Prince Andrew, I think the Prince Harry move, what the Prince Harry move does is, Harry goes over to America, supposedly leaves his title in royal family, and starts giving speeches. He's a big businessman, right? So that, to me, makes me think that the image that the royals are putting out now is that, all these business people, all the capitalists, all the people who are doing really well in business, taking a hell of a lot of money off people, running the world, running technology, running this and that, they're like royalty. They ain't got the official title, but they're like royalty, because Prince Harry's going around giving lectures to them all. And they're going to be the new royalty, this new division, this new class. And it doesn't matter what race you're from, it doesn't matter what country you're from, you can be in that class and you can wear a suit and you'll be respected equal, and apparently you won't suffer any racism or sexism or anything, or they'll prosecute you. But all those people from all those different countries might not necessarily have a clue exactly what's going on, how or why. And the fact that we're being hijacked and having all those rights denied and actually forcibly taken from us. And the whole point was to be that political rights were that everyone was equal, all citizens are equal. That's what political rights stand for. Now the government are hijacking a certain elite and saying, you're like royalty now. We're not having royals, instead we're having this corporate class elite who are going to rule the world. And, they're going to take money off charities. And all the money they're making off charities who are trying to save forests, and all the money they've made through advertising for that, they'll just oppose it in Parliament and get Boris to knock it back. That's what we're saying. So I'm really concerned. I'm very concerned with Nick Clegg. He's meant to be a liberal. Liberal is for complete, total fairness in democracy across the board and open and easy access. So, I'm really disappointed with, Clegg and Zuckerberg, what they're doing on Facebook, because it's not easy to get 10,000 signatures, It's still some work, and to get 100,000 is quite hard as well, You know, you got to sit there, and even if you're copying and pasting, you're not doing it in 10 seconds. There are some people who've got bots or machines, but, you know, maybe you need to get some software that can find out that you're not a bot or a machine, you know. Something needs to be done. You could easily apply with that passport they've made you add and that disclaimer, so you can, you know, say, well, I want to do a week's worth of promotion for my campaign, and it's non-profit, and it's a petition, and I want to use Messenger, and then you can apply to Facebook, and they will check your passport and your disclaimer and apply it, and then they'll lift the Messenger limit, you know, and then you can Messenger all the people from the group, and you know exactly who to ask. You know, even if he charges you 5-10 quid for it or something or whatever, not ridiculous amounts of money. I mean, at the moment, yeah, they've got targeting. They've got all these tech targeting things you can put on Facebook ads, and apparently you can get even more and more and more and more into closer detail. But to me, you know, then you pay someone to do that. Then you pay someone 100 quid to do that when you go, well, I've got the group here. I don't need to pay someone, you know, another 100 quid or 200 quid to do my ad for me when I'm in the group with all the people that I need to be asking, who are most likely to sign, than the people that you're spending 6 hours putting into Google Ads and trying to fine-tune your ad. Seems ridiculous. It's the same as what happened with those newspapers, and not a lot of people realise what was going on and what had happened. I realised, I saw it, you know. Here's a newspaper. We know what his rights are. We know what newspapers do. Oh, I've lost something. Can I put a lost property notice in there, please? It's non-profit. And then, eventually, Rupert Murdoch and people like that, then you say, oh, we don't want you putting those petitions in there, you know, because I'm a Tory and, you know, I won't be making loads of money on that housing bill that I'm investing in if you put that in my newspaper. So, you know, in fact, no one is. In fact, this newspaper's only publishing what we say now, you know, and then it's like, birthdays and funerals only, funerals and birthdays and graduations, and if that's not what you want, then, you know, tough. That was a problem. So, and that really, when they say we're being hijacked, we're having his democracy hijacked, right, or his country hijacked, that's really when it all started emerging and happening. That when all the normal newspapers started switching over to those frameworks, them type of things, that's when it was under the surface. That's when it was all starting to sneak in and wind its way in, you know. It might have been 10 years ago, it might have been a little bit more, maybe 15, could have been 20, but I think it was more like about 15 years ago or something. Some newspapers are still free and open. So that is what's going on. And if we don't get support, then we won't be able to oppose them. And now they don't want you to oppose them. They only want people who can afford to oppose them to oppose. No, they don't want you to. It's like what Neil Oliver says. Neil Oliver, and I totally agree with him on this. He says that if you don't support SNP, then they don't want to know you. You know, they like the people who don't vote at all better than the people who are voting in opposition. You know, the people they're trying to block is the people who are in opposition to them and their interests and parties. And the legal right is that you can't, to be discriminated against for your interest and political opinion. And they're even trying to get, you know, admins and people like that behind them now, and to like hammering the button, you know, if they just don't like it or something like that. And the police are not interested at all whatsoever. There's no enforcement of the law on Facebook now. No enforcement of discrimination and rights. Only, not if it's coming from, you know, anyone who's in charge of anywhere, because there's no proper real reporting tools. I found a section the other day, community, but when you go into it, you know, and try and click on things to get through to it, it's very difficult to find out where you go. So I'm going to look at that again, but this is important. So I'm really not happy with Change.org at the moment and the local councils, because you don't really know where you are with it. This is what we need to get, but you need to be able to access through Messenger.